Hi, my name is Michelle Embleton, and in this video we are going to look at how having a low ovarian reserve can affect your chances of getting pregnant. The term low ovarian reserve is used to describe when a woman has a reduced number of eggs left and therefore her chances of getting pregnant are naturally decreased. The most frequent cause of a low egg count is actually age. As a woman's age increases, the number of eggs decreases. And after the ages of about 35 to 38, this decline can be very sharp until the woman eventually depletes her supply of eggs and menopause begins. In this video, we are going to have a look at what is the ovarian reserve, what can be the causes of a low ovarian reserve, and how can I get pregnant despite having a low ovarian reserve? Then we're going to have a look at some of the most frequently asked questions from our users and answer them for you. In order to understand better the concept of the ovarian reserve, I want to start by having a look at where do the eggs come from, when are they developed inside a woman's body, and how does it get depleted over time? At the moment of embryonic development, when the future woman is still just a fetus inside her mother's uterus, the development of all of the oocytes, the eggs that she has, begins. And this process will actually end before the woman is born. As a result, at birth, a woman will have all of the eggs that she will ever have in her lifetime, and it is not possible to increase the number of the eggs after this time. So we can think of the eggs within the ovaries as a great treasure that the woman is born with. Indeed, a 20-week-old fetus may have 6 to 7 million eggs. At birth, the baby may have about 1 to 2 million oocytes in their ovaries, and at puberty this number has probably decreased to around 300,000 eggs. From the onset of puberty, 1 egg will be released each month at ovulation. However, what most people don't realise is that although 1 egg is ovulated, there is actually a much more complicated process involving many oocytes. Most of us are fully aware about the need for millions of sperm to create an embryo and the idea that there is competition amongst all these millions of sperm and the very best one gets to the egg. But what most people don't realise is a similar but on a smaller scale process. Many oocytes are recruited all of the time so that the best oocyte is the one that matures and gets ovulated. Indeed, every month, approximately 12 or perhaps even more eggs will be recruited into the maturation process, which can take up to 3 months. Only one of these oocytes will be ovulated, and the rest of them will deteriorate and never to be released. That will be the end of them. So we can understand why we are born with many more eggs than we will ovulate. And by this process, the number of eggs you have left will gradually decline over the years until your supply is exhausted. The ovarian reserve is basically the number of eggs a woman has at any given time in her life. A couple of facts that we do know about the ovarian reserve is that it can never increase. Since you are born with all of the oocytes that you will ever have, the number will only decrease over the years. And indeed, ovarian reserve does decrease over the years. This is a natural process until the onset of the menopause. However, there are external factors that can affect your ovarian reserve. For example, if you have had an ovary removed, this will radically affect your ovarian reserve, since the ovary is where the oocytes are located. External agents such as radiotherapy or chemotherapy may also damage the oocytes and lower your ovarian reserve. In addition, the selection of oocytes to develop into eggs is not related to the control of ovulation by the female hormones. As a result, contraceptive pills which stop the ovulation do not stop the selection and development of the oocytes. So a hormonal contraceptive won't stop the oocytes being selected into the development procedure and therefore won't affect your ovarian reserve. Although age is the largest contributing factor to a declining ovarian reserve, We also can see premature ovarian failure. The egg count you have, the number of eggs you have remaining, can also be affected by diseases such as endometriosis or polycystic ovary syndrome. Autoimmune diseases and chronic infections are also a reason why the ovarian reserve may be lowered. And also simply your individual genetics. Every person is their own unique world, and how your body changes over the years will be unique to your genetic makeup. Environmental pollution and exposure to toxic substances can also affect your ovarian reserve, as can an unhealthy lifestyle with a poor diet, excessive consumption of alcohol, smoking, perhaps consumption of street drugs. All these things have an effect on the quality and quantity of oocytes that you have. If you are young and have been told you have a low ovarian reserve, it may still be that your eggs are of very good quality, even though there are less of them. In this case, you would be a good candidate for getting pregnant via an IVF treatment. Most women are not aware of their ovarian reserve, or if indeed there is a low ovarian reserve, until they try to become pregnant. If after a year of regular unprotected sex, a couple fails to achieve pregnancy naturally, they should think about going to an assisted reproduction clinic for some fertility testing. If you're over the age of 35, the recommendation is to wait no longer than 6 months, as age is one of the biggest contributing factors to infertility issues. Your doctors will then prescribe some fertility studies to measure things such as your ovarian reserve, look at your reproductive system, and check everything is in working order to find out the reasons why pregnancy has not been achieved. When all of the factors have been studied, a strategy will be developed by your specialist, taking into account the needs of the patient. Possible treatments for women presenting with a low ovarian reserve could be as follows. If your ovarian reserve is compromised, your specialist may recommend treatment with IVF. The first step in an IVF procedure is ovarian stimulation, where your ovaries will be stimulated with hormonal medication to encourage several eggs to develop at once, and then they will program a follicular puncture, which is an egg retrieval process where they will collect all of the mature eggs in one go. This is an outpatient surgery performed under sedation or mild anesthesia. If your ovarian reserve is very limited, your specialist may require that you undergo the ovarian stimulation and egg retrieval process in a few consecutive cycles in order to gain a supply of eggs in which to go to the next step. The next step of the IVF process is the fertilization, followed by the embryo transfer into the woman's uterus. In more serious cases where the ovarian reserve is practically depleted, or perhaps in a very advanced maternal age, your specialist may recommend an IVF treatment with donor eggs. Although it can be really hard to get to grasp with the idea that you won't be passing on your genetic load to your children when you use donor eggs, this technique has allowed many women to become mothers. Indeed, if you're looking at this treatment, psychological counselling is recommended to help you understand and accept this treatment. One of the very large advantages of using donor eggs in IVF is that the eggs come from young, healthy individuals, and very high success rates are achieved with using donor eggs compared to using own eggs. Another thing to consider here is that because ovarian reserve decreases with age, and today's society, many women want to delay motherhood, it's important to think about fertility preservation. If you are a younger woman and you know you don't want to become a mother until maybe the ages of 35, for whatever reason, then think about preserving your fertility by vitrifying some of your eggs, which can be used later for IVF. In this way, you can become your own egg donor for your future self. In order to preserve your fertility, you will undergo ovarian stimulation to mature several eggs that will be collected in an egg retrieval procedure. These oocytes will then be vitrified and stored in liquid nitrogen indefinitely until you need to use them in the future. Now I want to have a look at some of the most frequently asked questions from our users and answer them for you. Yes, a hormonal analysis is a very important tool in looking at the ovarian reserve, and we can measure different hormones. One of these is follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, which needs to be measured at the start of the cycle. We can also look at progesterone levels in the second half of the cycle. But perhaps one of the most interesting hormones to look at when looking at the ovarian reserve is the anti-malarial hormone, AMH. The levels of this hormone do not vary according to the time of the month, so this test can be performed at any time in your cycle. Basically, the higher the level of AMH that you have in a blood test, the better your ovarian reserve. We see the levels of AMH tapering down as a woman increases in age, along with the ovarian reserve. So this is one of the key markers that they will look for if testing your ovarian reserve by a hormonal analysis. In order to get an idea of your ovarian reserve and how many eggs you have, your fertility specialist will probably use a combination of hormonal tests and an antral follicle count. The hormonal test will measure the hormones FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and progesterone, along with anti-malarian hormone, AMH. By means of an ultrasound, your specialist will also want to do an antral follicle count, where they will count the number of developing egg cells that you have in your ovaries. These results taken together can give a really good picture of what your ovarian reserve is. Well, unfortunately, you can't. At present, there is no way a woman can actually increase the number of eggs that they have available. Women are born with all of the eggs that they will ever have. Men, however, will continue to produce sperm over their lifetime, but women will not continue to produce eggs over their lifetime. The eggs they have will mature, but they will not make more eggs. Instead of looking at improving your egg count, you can think about how to lessen the deterioration of your egg count by leading a healthy lifestyle with good habits such as good nutrition, not excessive consumption of alcohol, no smoking, no taking drugs, and generally leading a good healthy life to increase your fertility levels. We want to hear about your experiences, so please do leave us a comment below. And if you've enjoyed this video and found it informative, don't forget to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And finally, I'd like to remind you that I leave you with in the description below, a link to an article with a lot more information. And within this article, there'll be links for other articles so you can learn all about your ovarian reserve and how it affects your fertility.